As the official start of spring training is just around the corner, pitchers and catchers have already started to report. Buzz around baseball is huge as football has now ended after the Super Bowl. Teams are looking to finalize their rosters ahead of opening day, which should result in some interesting trades heading into spring training and in those ensuing weeks. One name that has been floated around is NL batting champ Luis Arraez, who had a phenomenal season for the Miami Marlins after being traded away back before the season. Arraez is going to be 27 in the 2024 season, and the earliest he'll be a free agent is after the 2026 season, so there's still a lot of control left available. So any team looking to acquire him will probably have to give up a big haul. He was traded away from the Twins to the Marlins back in January of 2023, setting up the Marlins for another postseason burst, and although they didn't make it deep in the postseason in 2024, Luis Arraez was definitely a huge part of the Marlins' success last season. In this video, we'll assess this trade, looking at not only Luis Arraez, what he's done with the Marlins, and what his future value should hold, but also on the other side of the deal, including both minor leaguers that got sent away from the Marlins in this deal, and for Pablo Lopez, who has blossomed into a very big star in 2023 and looks to continue that trend with the Twins in 2024. As always, if you could like the video or subscribe to the channel, it really means a lot. It helps my channel grow, tells me you like the content I produce, and it will also give you a ton more baseball content, not only from me, but from awesome creators out there as well. Without further ado, let's dive into this Pablo Lopez Luis Arraez trade and really set the scene on what has been a very interesting deal just a year after it happened. Luis Arraez has only played 5 years in Major League Baseball, but he already has 2 All-Star Game appearances, 2 Silver Sluggers, 2 top 15 MVP finishes, and he has led the league in batting twice, once in the AL with the Twins and once in the NL with the Marlins, now in back-to-back seasons. He's done that primarily splitting time between second base and first base, so not super valuable defensive positions, but it really is his offensive bat that carries him and gives him the success he's had so far at the Major League level. He is by all means an average hitter. He's not going to hit for a ton of home runs, and that bodes well for him being at the top of the lineup, getting on base, and allowing you to drive in runs at the top of the order. A quick look at his 2023 stats makes it easy to see why he is a great player to have at the top of your lineup. A .354 batting average, and on base is just shy of 400. He doesn't hit for a ton of power, 10 home runs, not a ton of speed, 3 stolen bases, but he will set the table for other guys to drive in runs, and that is incredibly valuable for any team looking to add any kind of impact at the top of their lineup. His defensive limitations have to be noted if you're going to have a really good representation of Arraez as a player. His outs above average last season was -13, which was in the first percentile, so he was a horrible defender by that metric, and his arm strength isn't great. His max speed is just shy of 80 miles an hour throwing the ball, so that means Arraez is really going to be limited defensively to first base or second base. He's also pretty small, 5'10", 175, so first base isn't even the best fit for him just because he doesn't have that big frame. If an errant throw comes, he has to reach to try and get it. So second base is probably the best position for him, but even then, he's still playing first because that outs above average is so bad. It's just unfortunately how it is for him. So we've established he is a below average defender for sure, but he's playing Major League Baseball for a reason. That's because of its offensive value. You've already looked at his stats in 2023, but let's take a quick glance at his StatCast page and it'll impress you a little bit. Although there is a fair amount of blue, specifically at average exit velocity, barrel percentage, and hard hit percentage, that doesn't really play into Arraez's game as he's not a huge power guy. But when you look at all the other stats for the most part, there's a lot of red and even 4 100 percentile, which is incredibly impressive. His expected batting average, top 100 percentile, sweep arc percentage, where he makes contact with the ball on the bat, 100 percentile. He doesn't strike out a lot. He doesn't chase a lot. A 7.8% whiff percentage is asinine. That is incredibly impressive. He has an amazing command for the strike zone, and although he doesn't walk a ton, it's just because he ends up going and putting balls in play. He doesn't strike out a lot. He ends up getting balls in play. Doesn't walk, doesn't strike out, doesn't chase. That's just part of who he is. I expect those values to continue to stay around the same. His chase percentage should be a little bit higher. He just had a down year in 2023. He ended up chasing a little bit more than he did in the past couple years. So I expect that to kind of go and get reversed. But we'll see exactly what happens in 2024. Marlins Park is relatively deep. It's not really a known hitters park. So we'll see exactly how he plays if he stays with the Marlins in 2024 or if he goes and gets a new team that could play a little bit better to his offensive strengths. On the flip side, the Minnesota Twins got what might be their opening day starter in 2024 and a couple of interesting minor league pieces as well. You're watching the highlights of Pablo Lopez, who quickly established himself as one of the better pitchers in the 2023 season and looks to be a future ace for the Minnesota Twins. Lopez has a great 4-pitch mix with a fastball that averages around 95, a changeup that averages around 88, which is incredibly high compared to league average, and same with the 83-mile-an-hour curve that he throws about 10% of the time, and a slider that sits around 84. It's really effective, throws about 20% of the time. It is a very good pitch, and that 4-pitch mix allows him to really go and keep batters on their toes, and the fact he can throw all of them for strikes and be accurate with where he places the ball, his control is unmatched. Lopez has really come in with a great mix of pitches that can go ahead and get any batter out. His stats speak for themselves: a 3.66 ERA, a 3.33 FIP, a strikeout rate just below 30%, and a career low 6% walk rate. Really solid numbers. His strikeout percentage rose by almost 6% from his previous career high. He really found everything clicking in 2023, and he's looking to build off that success in 2024. With over 230 strikeouts, Pablo Lopez was definitely a front-of-the-line starter caliber pitcher last year, and he has the mix to go ahead and do it again in 2024. Let's go ahead and look at his StatCast page and see exactly what is exciting about his profile. And be warned, if you're afraid of the color red, you might want to look away. Lopez, as I mentioned, just has an incredible pitch mix. 90th percentile fastball run value. His breaking stuff is at 79, so that would be something like his curveball or his slider, and his off-speed, which is his changeups, it's at 84th percentile. And you look at everything else: 95th percentile in chase rate. He has 87th percentile in strikeout percentage. You just look down this list and you see a lot of really great metrics provided by Pablo Lopez last season. He's going to be 28, so he's still pretty young. He's really hitting his prime right now, so there's a lot to be excited about him going forward. And he's a name to look out for as we have just about a week until spring training games start. Although pitchers generally don't go and pitch a ton of innings, especially at the start of spring training, keep an eye out when he does make an appearance. He's going to be a very interesting name to watch as you go and look at all of these amazing stats and accolades that are likely to come if he continues to success from last season, because he has the mix to really be a dominant pitcher. He proved it last year, and he's most likely going to prove it again this year, barring an injury or another setback. Lopez is someone I would heavily invest into if I was a Twins fan, and he signed for a long time. He signed a 4-year extension after getting traded to Minnesota, so there is a lot to like if you're a Twins fan. Now we dive into the prospect realm, and let's look at a couple of the players that haven't made their major league debut yet that the Twins got back in the steal. We'll start with Byron Chourio, and although you might be familiar with Jackson Chourio, a top 3 prospect in Major League Baseball, who the Brewers just signed to an 8-year, $82 million deal a couple months ago, and will likely make his Major League debut this season. Not related, although Jackson does have a brother in the Guardian system, this is a completely separate relative. Chourio is 18 years old. He spent most of his time in rookie ball, so he hasn't made the jump yet after being signed in the 2022 international period for $200,000 out of Venezuela. The Marlins really spread their money thin, signing 13 players to 6-figure. Oftentimes you see them going all in for a big name, so they really tried to spread the wealth in 2022, and Chourio was one of those names, and now they ship him off to Minnesota. Chourio's biggest calling card is his defensive ability. He has really great speed that should allow him to stick in center field long term, and a plus arm and decent enough defense that will allow him to go ahead and man center field in the future, and having that defensive ability is a huge plus. Being able to control center field approach to the corners gives someone a lot more value and eases off some of the ability to not hit for average or for power. Chourio is in no way going to be a power hitter. He is kind of like a Luis Arraez type where he's going to get on base or hit more than he will hit for power, but his hit tool also has some glaring holes in it as he moved stateside in 2023 and really did not do a great job with a 262 average, but he was still doing a good job at looking at pitches with a 415 on base percentage. If he can get back on track, he'll probably stay in rookie ball, maybe make the jump to single A sometime in 2024. We'll see with some of the new major league rules on the amount of players you can keep in the minor leagues. So we'll see exactly how aggressively they push him. But now that he is stateside, I would not be shocked to see him make that jump to single A at some point in 2024. If he can go and get that hit tool a little bit better than it has been last season, I have no doubt in my mind he could be a top 30 type prospect for the Twins, a back end kind of guy who could be maybe a 4th outfielder type. But that defensive ability, and if he can hit for average at the major league level, even a little bit below, he'll be a serviceable player going forward. As always, once you're in rookie ball, the amount of video available is pretty limited, so I apologize for the grainy and low image quality, but it's kind of the best I can get. Hopefully you can still see that there is some potential in him as a good 4th outfielder in the future. The last player in this deal is another switch hitter in infielder Jose Salas, who people had very highly rated in the Marlins system. Some had him in their top 5. MLB Pipeline at the time of the deal had him at number 8. So there was a lot of intrigue in Jose Salas as he entered the Twins organization. He was signed internationally in the 2019 cycle for $2.8 million, which is a lot of money. He was one of the top-rated prospects in that time, and a lot of that had to do with his plus defensive ability, his great running speed, and the fact that it looked like he was going to hit for average as well. With the pandemic slowing down the minor league season, Salas didn't make his debut until 2021 and placed in the Florida Complex League, where he absolutely tore it up in stateside rookie ball. A .370 average, was only there for a month before making the jump to single A, and in 2022, he spent only 2 months at single A before making the jump to high A, and then finishing the season there and getting traded to the Twins. Unfortunately for him, his prospect luster has really worn out. He did not do well in 93 games with high A Cedar Rapids, a Twins affiliate, with a 190 average, an OBP of 265. He just was not really putting things together well, and he's not a huge power guy, only 4 home runs in 331 at-bats, so things weren't really clicking well for him. He struck out about 30% of the time, and although he did have 22 stolen bases, his prospect shine really wore off. He was expected to be a lot better than he was at high A, and it just seems like a lot of that shine and that excitement around Jose Salas has worn off. That's not to say he doesn't have potential. If he can go get back on track, a bad year happens. He'll be only 21 this season. So if he can do well at 21 in high A, it's not like he's super old for that league right now. So there's still the potential for him to be a good player, but he's got to find a way to put it together. Another bad season, and I think things might end up starting to look bleak for Jose Salas' ability to make the major leagues. You don't often get a true full picture after just a year of a deal, but in this instance, it kind of looks like things might be panning out well, and you can get a very clear picture of how all 4 players are going to end up. Arraez is exactly what you thought he was going to be, a guy who's going to hit for average, get on base a ton, and set your team up for success offensively at the beginning of a game at the top of the order. Pablo Lopez is an ace. That is something that people didn't really expect heading into 2023, but his numbers show it, his peripherals show it, his advanced data shows it. He is a dominant pitcher, and if he can repeat that success that he had last year in 2024, he will not only be another all-star, not only will be top 10 in Cy Young voting, if you ask me, in my opinion, dark horse for the AL Cy Young Award in 2024 if he can stay healthy. He has the stuff. He could absolutely win it with a good campaign and with the Twins winning a couple games. And then with the prospects, they're always volatile. That's the nature of the beast. But it's interesting to see how Jose Salas has fallen so much, as he had a really, really bad 2023, while Byron Chourio has risen up a little bit after putting together an solid but not exciting campaign. Chourio is probably a borderline top 30, and Salas, if with a good year, will definitely shoot back up, but we'll see how both of these people pan out in the future. If I had to place bets, none of them will make the major league. That's your best bet with most prospects in general, but in this instance, Chourio might make it as a 4th outfielder, but I think that's about his cap. And Salas, I think, based on the data I've seen, his 2023 is reminiscent of where he's ended up. He's kind of hit his cap in high A, and I don't think he's going to be able to recover from that. I obviously hope for nothing but the best, but that is my estimation based on the data and information that I have. So thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate you sticking all the way through. Up in each corner are going to be 2 videos. Click either of those if you're interested, or you can hit this baseball in the middle or the link in the description to subscribe to the channel. It really, really helps out a ton. Thank you so much, and I can't wait to see you in the next video.